All right, so this is Ubuntu 24.04, and this is what you can expect to get by the end of this video. So you'll be able to do this. This is a totally different operating system. I installed Brave, I have Warp, I have a few other goodies I have in store for you to show you how to do. As you can see, I'm running Ubuntu 24.04, which is the latest version of it. So this is going to be the one we're going to install. It is a little bit different. It's not as straight cut and forward as, you know, some of the older Ubuntus, but by far this is way better than all of those. So this is what you can expect. Now, here's the deal. You can set this up on your current laptop 100% for free and in a safe environment. The reason why I'm showing you this is because I want you to understand why I'm so geeked on single board computers. Now, if this doesn't whet your appetite, like if you look at it and you say, well, that's not really for me, then honestly, you might not want to go any further than this video when I start talking about single board computers, because the whole purpose of a single board computer is, instead of using a virtual machine, which is what you see in right now, you're able to actually use a single board computer that you can put in your pocket. I'm sure you've heard of the Raspberry Pi and a few other ones out there that mimic the Raspberry Pi. These are the different distros you can play with and try out. So this is what we're going to be doing today in this tutorial, and by the end of this video you'll have an exact replicate of this distro right here, which is the latest version of Ubuntu 24.04. So let's get started. How's it going? Will here, and if you geek out on productivity and technology, you're definitely in the right place. On this channel, I talk about productivity, automation, and cool technology that capture my eye, just like Ubuntu 24.04. Let's talk tech. All right, so let's get started. As you can see, we're at Ubuntu website. We're actually looking at the Ubuntu server. That's what we're going to be installing. And as you can see, we're just going to click on download. You'll find the links in the description. You're going to click on download like I did. Now, at this point, you want to be careful because you have two types. You have one for if you're on a PC and you have one for if you're on a Mac, which is an M1 chip. So 9 times out of 10, if you're on a Mac, you're going to have to click on alternative architects. And the way you just click on it, it's going to bring you down here, and you want to click on ARM. You want to make sure you click on this download, and you want to make sure it says Ubuntu server for ARM, because if you're using an M1 chip, this is the architect that you're using, and you want to make sure that's the one you install, because if not, you're going to have a hard time installing it. It's not going to work. For everybody else, more than likely, you're going to want to click on the very first one. If you're on a PC, or if you're not running an M1 chip, then you don't want to install ARM, okay? So once you have that installed, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come over here. So you have 3 options. The very first one, if you're on an M1 or newer, VirtualBox will not work for you. If you're on a PC or if you're on an older Mac that's not an M1 series, you can use VirtualBox. If you don't want to use VirtualBox, if you are on an M1 or newer, then you have to use UTM, which is right here. Again, all the links are in the description for your convenience. It's a virtual machine that allows us to be able to play on our Mac without messing up anything in a safe environment. That's literally what this is. And the third option is Parallels. Parallels is a subscription. I have Parallels, but honestly, I don't recommend you pick up Parallels. If you want to try a 30-day trial, you can. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. I wish I was. I probably should look into it. But as of right now, I'm not an affiliate. So you know, you could try it if you want, but for us, since I'm on an M1, this is what I'm going to be using. So what you want to do is you can go to the Mac App Store and download it. As you can see, it's popping up. This is what you want to install right here, and you can grab this directly from the Apple Store, which is kind of cool. So this is what I highly recommend you use. This is what this video is going to be using. Once you have that installed and you have Ubuntu installed, then you're ready for the next step. And the cool part about it is Ubuntu server is only like 2.5 gigs or something like that. So it's a relatively fast download if you're on a slower internet connection like myself. Okay, so this is where you should land once you've done everything you want to land on here. This is UTM software. As you can see, I already have 2 going. This is the one I just showed you right here. We're going to be building a brand new one. In order to do that, we're going to hit this plus button right here. And because we're actually running on ARM, we can use virtualization. Now, virtualize versus emulate. Emulate is going to be very, very slow. You can do it. Like if you're using x64, this is what you will use, emulate. If you're using ARM, you will use virtualize. So we're going to do virtualize. We're doing Linux. And then we're not going to touch any of this. We're just going to come down here and we're going to browse to that file that we just downloaded. So for me, I know my file is under my downloads, and you can see it says Ubuntu ARM 24.04. That's what we want. I'm going to say open. I'm going to click continue. Here, you can give it however much hardware you want. So for me, I'm going to give it at least 16. And at that point, actually, I can go up to 32. So I could give it the full 32 because when I'm running a virtual machine, I'm not doing much on my computer. So I can enable hardware. Then I can say continue. I can give it maybe 258 and I'm going to say continue. I'm going to continue. And now I can name this. So I'm going to say, I can say UBS, which is Ubuntu Server 24.04. And I could say, and I'm going to put main. This is going to be my main one moving forward. Then I'm going to just click open VM settings. I really don't need to open it, but I'm going to open it anyway. Then I'm going to say save. Now that it's open, you can come down here and you can always change up your settings. Like I can always lower it if I want to, but because I want a snappy speed, I'm going to leave that like that. My default cores is whatever my default is. So I can come here and I can change it up, but I'm not going to touch any of that. You can come over here. You can change up some stuff. You can do whatever you want over here. Just make sure if you change any of this stuff, you're 100% sure you know what you're doing so you don't mess up your install. I'm going to say save, and now I'm just going to click play. If you did it right, you should get this. If you didn't do it right, it's going to automatically error out. Now, this window will allow us to be able to install it. Once we put our mouse in here, we no longer have a mouse because we're technically on a server. We can use the up and down arrow, but we're going to go with the first one and just press enter. Right now, basically what it's doing is going out, getting everything we need. It's going to load us up into a virtualization for us to be able to set up our server settings. All right. So what we're going to do right now is, again, you don't have any access to your mouse right now, so you can't use your mouse. So I'm going to say English. I'm going to say done. I'm going to go up one, hit spacebar because I want search for third-party drivers. Then I'm going to go back down, hit enter. All of this looks good. You're not going to touch anything on here. It's going to automatically pick up your internet and all that other stuff. So you're just going to say done. You're going to say done. And right now it's going to test it. All right, everything looks good. It's reading package list. So you're going to say done. You're going to scroll down here. You're going to say done. You're going to say done. You're going to say, it says select and continue will begin your installation. That's what we want to do. And now it's asking you what's your name. So it must be Will. Actually, I could do Will Talk Tech. So we can say Will Talk Tech. We're going to hit the down area for next server name. This is going to be Will Talk Tech for my server name. I'm going to pick my name. It's going to be must be Will. You're going to pick a password. And at that point, you're going to say done. Now, I recommend you pick something like a complicated password, but because this is just a virtual machine, it honestly doesn't matter. But when we get into our single board computers and things like that, we're going to want to make sure we're picking a strong password. Then you can see right here, it says enable Ubuntu Pro. For right now, you can see the X is already on skip. If you wanted the X to enable it, you would click that, but I'm going to skip it for now because you can always do that at the end. So I'm going to say continue. Then you can see install open SSH server. I'm going to say spacebar because that's something you're going to want to do. Then I'm going to scroll down to where it says done. And I'm going to hit enter. It says no applications or drivers needed. Kind of makes sense because it's a virtual machine. I'm going to say continue. I'm going to come all the way down. I'm going to say done. Now it's interesting because if you, I'm not sure if you know, but Docker is something that we honestly would probably want. But for right now, we can always install that stuff later. So we're just going to say done. And now, right now, is installing our server. So we're just going to give it, this usually take maybe about 10 minutes. So in about 10 minutes, it'll be done. Okay, so right now you can see if we click down, this view log just popped up, or cancel, update, and reboot. We don't want to do either one of those. So we're going to let this process finish up. Again, if you're on a faster internet connection, yours will be quicker than mine. Mine is basically taking roughly about 10 minutes. Okay, and as you can see, it's finished. You know it's finished when you see reboot now. When the writing changed from, I think it was quit and reboot to reboot now, you know it's done. So now you can click on reboot now. I'm gonna hit enter. Right now it's probably not going to actually reboot. So what we gotta do is we gotta come up here and click on the power button. You're gonna get this sign. You're gonna say okay. At that point, you're gonna close out. Now, since it's installed, what we need to do is make sure we're up under the right one. We don't want to try to install the CD or DVD again. We're going to come down here, click clear, and that's all we have to do. Now it's going to boot up into the server. Click play, and as long as you see this, you're all good to go. It's going to take a little while, so just give it a minute, let it do its thing. All right, so now we at the server. Everything has successfully completed. Only thing you have to do is use your login details to log into the server. It's not going to show your password as you type it, so just know that it's working. Right now, we're currently in the server, and as we do these commands, I'm going to explain to you what we're doing. So the very first one we're going to do is going to be sudo apt update. Now, we're going to do another one. -y just means yes, don't ask me. We have to use our password. Sudo is like giving permission and saying, hey, I got permission to do this, so do it. All right, we can see we also have 38 packages that can be upgraded, but we're not going to worry about that right now. The next one is going to be sudo tasksel. Well, actually be sudo. Sudo is like giving permissions. apt is the package we're using. Install is the argument we're passing to it, which is install this app right here. This app just basically helps us to be able to install more than one application at a time. So right now, that completed. The next thing we want to do is sudo apt, remember package, install. It's going to be ubuntu-desktop. This right here, if you want to, honestly, you can go get a cup of coffee or take a break, because when I've done it, again, it depends on your internet speed, but every single time I've done this, it's taken at least a solid 15 to 20 minutes. And if you look over in the right-hand corner, you can see it's telling me it's going to take 20 minutes before this process completes. So this would be the time you could literally do whatever you want to do, walk away from your computer and come back. Okay, so the very first part is done. This part right here is basically us waiting on the images or the packages to be installed. Everything's been downloaded. It's just unpacking all the packages and installing them. So this on average is probably going to take another 15, 20 minutes based on my computer and internet. So yeah, got some more time to wait it out. Okay, so it's been like maybe 25 minutes, but I want to show you something. So if you look at the screen right now, you'll see that you have things in red. This part right here is 100% normal. You don't have to worry about it. The system don't require those dependencies anymore. So it's not going to do anything. You don't have to worry about anything like that. And later on, we're going to be removing the packages that we no longer need anyway. So it's cool. All right, we finally made it to 99%. We waiting on that last 1%, and the system should restart, and we should be good to go. It looks like it's doing it now, and it is. All right, so we back at the terminal. Everything is done, and for me personally, that took every bit of about an hour and 15 minutes to do that install. So hopefully your internet connection was faster than mine. All right, so now all we have to do is we're going to type in sudo poweroff. We're going to put in our password, hit enter. It's going to close it out. Now it's closed out. Awesome, we can close it, and now we can just click on play again. This time when it opens up, it might take a little while. Don't worry about it, that's normal. And when it comes back up, it should load us into the GUI, which is the desktop version of Ubuntu 24.04. Okay, so you can see we are officially in Ubuntu. So I could just put in my password, hit enter, and we now have the Ubuntu GUI. And welcome to Ubuntu 24.04. It took a little time, but we made it. So first things first, we can step through this, and I'm going to show you because I remember I told you we could do this. So basically, if you want to do Ubuntu Pro, you can do it here. I'm not going to do it because this is not a main machine for me. But if you want to enable it, you can do it here. Click next and follow the steps. It's fairly simple. So this right here is asking you to help Ubuntu. Basically, if you want to share some data with them, I do. So I'm going to say next. I'm cool with that. We have the App Store right here. I'm going to say finish now. I'm going to click Open App Center because I don't think that App Center is available in the virtual machine. So yeah, I don't think this worked because I'm clicking and then nothing happening. So because we're in a virtual machine, this won't work. But once we put it on the SBC, it will work. So first things first, I'm going to click the command. I'm going to just type in terminal and I'm going to click right here. This is our terminal window. The very first thing we want to do is make sure that everything is updated. So we just done a lot. So we're going to do sudo. Remember, that gives us permission. Apt is the package. We're going to say update. We're updating all of our packages. Then we're going to add in another argument, which is going to be sudo apt upgrade. Then we're going to add in one more argument, which is sudo apt. It's going to be get apt. I said it backwards. It's apt-get, and it's going to be autoremove -y. This is basically going to remove any packages that we have that we're not using and it's just trash. -y just means yes, I'm giving you permission. You don't have to. I don't have to confirm it. Put in our password, hit enter, and it's going to go to work. Now, last time this took like another 20-30 minutes. I really hope that's not the case this time. Okay, so now we can type in clear to clear the screen, or we can do Control L. So we have some things we want to do. Now that we have everything updated, we're going to leave out the terminal for a little while. And what I want to do is I want to come over here to settings, and we're going to walk through just in case this is your first time with Ubuntu. So we're going to start with networks. Our networks, we're not going to touch our Bluetooth. If you have something you want to connect to Bluetooth, you can turn on your Actually, I'm not 100% sure because this is a virtual machine. So plug in dongle to use Bluetooth. So yeah, this is a virtual machine. They're not going to let us do it. But you can see this is our display. So here I'm able to change this to be what I want it to be. I'm able to do fractional if I want to. It's completely up to me. I can change it up. I can click right here and I can move this around as I see fit. As you can see, I'm on a Mac, so I can go up to 4K if I wanted to. Actually, I can go even higher than that, but I'm not going to touch it because I'm already recording. The next one is sound. I'm not going to touch anything in sound. For power, I have it balanced because I'm on the computer. Rather, I'm on power right now. Multitasking, I really don't use the hot corners on here. I might do it on my actual, once I'm putting it on the actual single board computer. But in this virtual machine, I don't usually use that. I leave everything the same. Now my windows, all of that looks good. This is appearance if you want to change it up. Like I like to change it up to this one right here. You can come down if you want to. You can add a picture if you want. And once you click on add, you can just navigate to wherever you have it. You can grab one off the internet if that's your jam. Ubuntu desktop. You can see here is our normal size. So we can do large, and it's changing this over here. So if I move this right here, you can see that's what it's changing. Right now it's in bottom right. I'm gonna put it in top left. If I put it back in bottom right, I'm gonna have it in top left. Show home folder. I usually don't like that, so I delete it. I don't like my dock being showed. I'm used to being on the Mac where I can hide it. Panel mode, I don't like it like this long thing. I feel like it's taking up unnecessary space, so that's how I like my dock. My dock, I like it a little bit smaller like so. And then my position is left. Like if you want it bottom or if you want it to the right, you can do that. But I'm used to it being on the left-hand side. Now you can click right here to configure it. But this is what I want. If I plug something up, I want it to be able to show up over here. So I don't want to mess with that. This right here, I recommend you leave it on. If I turn it off, you'll see what it do. If I grab this and move it, that's all it does. But if this is turned on, it gives you more options. As you can see, you can use squares, you can tile more places. So that's what this is. So I highly recommend you leave that on if that's your jam. This over here, this is just your normal apps and things like that. Notifications, if you want notifications, you can. We have do not disturb right here, but if you click up here on calendar or the time, you also have do not disturb right here as well. So it's two ways to activate that. Right here is your search. Now we can do search over here. So if you don't want to search results up in these things, you can easily turn those off. Our online accounts, if you want to, you can connect. I'm not going to actually do it, but if this wasn't a virtual machine, I would, but I don't want to connect to my virtual machine. We scroll down, we have sharing. So you can see right here, my display name, media sharing is turned off. But if you want to share on the same network, you can right here by just flicking that switch, turning it on. Your mouse and trackpad. My mouse right now is moving really slow. I'm used to my mouse being much faster. Like this is how I like it. So what I'm going to do is, instead of having traditional, always change this. Traditional mean it's opposite. And natural mean if I go up, the page is going to go up. If I scroll down, the page is going to scroll down. That's what that means. So I'm gonna have it like that. When I come back down here to my keyboard, you can switch up your keyboard with these settings right here. I'm not gonna touch it because I want an English keyboard. You have your color monitor. So I'm not gonna touch printers. I don't have any printers. Accessibility, I always flip this switch. And basically what it does is it activates it right here so I can have an easier way to grab it. I always turn on larger text just to make it easier for when I'm doing these videos. And then if I come back, you have privacy and security. And over here, you can play around with this, but honestly, it's kind of simple. Like there's nothing really over here to do. We can add more functionality to this, which we're gonna do later. You can see over here, it's one over here that says, I don't ever change this. Like I don't ever want it to delete my stuff. And then you can see diagnostics is send error reports. So you can set that to never, automatically, or manual. I'm gonna set mine to automatic because again, this is a virtual machine. I'm gonna be doing a lot of testing in it, so I want them to have it. I can see over here my panel is really, really small. So if I want to fix that, I can just go back up to, all right, it's gonna be up on the Ubuntu desktop. I don't know how it got that small, but I'm gonna do it like that. And if you on here, then okay. So that's it for that. I just wanted to bring that back. The next thing I want to do is install Gnome tweaks. To do that, I'm gonna use terminal. So we're gonna click right here and we're just gonna say sudo atp install Gnome tweaks. We're gonna put in our password, say enter, say Y. Y is yes. Once it's done, now we can come back over here to settings. We can move over here and let's see, where's Gnome? Let's see, tweaks. It's right here. And now we can come over here and we have more functionality. Like we can change up the interface, the document text, our appearance, all that cool stuff. We can change it up. Now, I'm not gonna do anything right now to it. The next thing I wanna install is going to be sudo apt install gnome shell extension. And I'm gonna say enter. Okay, so that just means I misspelled it. So I'm gonna say sudo apt, if I can spell manager correctly. And there we have it. All right, so now if we come back over here to our apps and we type in Gnome, so this is what we want right here, extension manager. And the one that I want to show you, just to show you how this works, is I'm gonna install apps menu, which is right here. What it's gonna do is it's gonna give me quick access without having to use this right here. So I'm gonna say install, and you can see now it's up here. So now I can just use this and it's really easy for me to get around without having to come all the way down here and use that. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to install Brave. Brave is a browser. Now, if we do sudo apt install Brave, watch what happens. As you can see, it says no apt. Now, you can see it says, but there is a snap with the name. So it says try. So we can copy this. And since we're installing something, we need to do sudo. We can paste it, say enter. And now we can see that it's installing Brave. Okay, we now have Brave installed. If we want to double confirm it, we can say Brave and we can say version. And you can see it'll tell us what version of Brave we are using. The next one I want to install is one that's going to help us to install apps easier. So we're going to do sudo apt install, and it's called gdebi. Let's see, gdebi. We're going to say yes. This is the Debian package manager. Basically, it helps us and it makes it easy for us to install Debian apps that we download off the internet, basically. Okay, awesome. Now that we have that installed, the next one I want to install is sudo apt install Nyla. I'm going to say yes. Nyla is a different type of package manager, and I really like Nyla. So now that we installed Debian package manager, what we want to do is we want to come over here to, actually, I'm going to unpin this. I'm going to unpin this. I'm going to unpin this as well. And yeah. That's it. I'm going to unpin this. I'm going to put some things over here, but right now, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to come over to apps. We're going to go to the last page. Here's Brave. I want to pin that to my dash to make it easier. We can move it around as well. So I'm going to open up Brave really quickly. I'm going to say, actually, I should have said set Brave to be my default browser. So I'm going to click right here, say set. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say match system settings. I'm going to say maybe later. I'm going to say finish. And now what I want to do is I want to install Warp. I think it's called Warp Terminal, if I'm not mistaken. All right, it's this right here. I want to install that. I'm going to make sure I install the Debian one, .deb, because I'm on Ubuntu and you can see right here it's telling me. All right, so I'm going to install that. I'm going to say save to downloads. I'm going to say file manager. So now that we have this right here, what we want to do is right click, open with, and you see gdb package installer. This is what we just installed with that sudo. So we're going to say open. We can pull this over here. Okay, and it's telling me this is AMD 64. So basically I installed the wrong one. So let's say move to trash. We're going to come back over here and let's delete this. I'm going to hit down on it and let's come back up here. There we go. We can see Linux 64, other downloads. Here we go right here. And because we're on Linux and I'm using ARM, instead of x64, I want the ARM 64. So I want to install that one. So I'm going to say save. And because we're using a M1 Mac, that's the reason why we have to be careful with the one we install. We can close all three tabs. It's going to be right here, open with, and I'm going to say Debian, open. You'll know when it's correct because it'll look like this, and then you can just click on install, put in your password, hit enter, and we're just waiting on it to finish installing. I don't know what that little glitch is when it's installing, but it does that. So I'm gonna close out of that, close out of all that, hit my Windows key. I can click over here and I'm going to find Warp. I'm gonna pin this to my dash because this is the terminal that I want to use. And come back over here, and it's not really, my side panel isn't coming up the way I wanted to. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna restart it, just because we've done a lot and I probably should have been done it. But we're gonna click right here. We're gonna say power mode, not power saver. We're gonna say power. We're gonna say restart, restart. And as you can see, it's restarting on its own, which is an awesome thing. So for whatever reason, a reboot, it takes a little time, so you got to give it a minute, but eventually it always pops on. So now I can log back in since I've done a restart. And now what we want to do is we want to open up Warp. It's going to ask me to sign in. I'm going to sign in really quickly. You just basically using your Google account. All right, and this is our new terminal. Now, everything else we're going to do in this terminal, mainly because I like this one better. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we installed Nyla, so I'm just going to say version just to make sure we actually installed it, and as you can see, we did. So now, instead of saying sudo apt, instead of using that package manager, I can say sudo Nyla install NeoFetch. And what this does is allow me to see my system at a glance. I can say yes, and there's one more thing we want to do with Nyla to make sure we're doing it the fastest, using the fastest ones. But first, let me show you what NeoFetch do. So now I can say NeoFetch, and it's basically going to show me my stats. So we can see that I'm indeed running Ubuntu 2024. You can see that right here. We can see I'm in a virtual machine. We can see how much RAM I'm using, how much memory, and we can see basically everything else. And if we was on a single board SBC, then we'll be able to see a lot more information. All right. So I can say Control L to clear that. And then I can say Nyla, and I can, well, sudo Nyla, then I can say fetch. Now this is going out looking for the fastest mirror so that it'll speed up my downloads when I'm using this package manager. So I can just say enter, I can say yes, say enter, and now I should be using the fastest package managers. The next one I want to install is something that I use all the time, which is I'm gonna say Nyla install speedtest-cli. I always get this one wrong for whatever reason. I'm going to say yes. And it does exactly what it sounds like, especially when you're on a server and you don't have a GUI, so you can't quickly test your internet. You say speed test, then you can run a speed test that allows you to see if you have an internet connection. Now, you can tell that my internet is extremely slow. Like, it is frustratingly slow. So we can see I'm getting 27 megabytes down and only 5 megabytes up, which again is sucky. The next one we want to use is going to be tmux, but I think tmux come already installed. And the fact that I see it as green, I know it's already on here, but we can test it and see. So we can say tmux, make sure I did it right, -- version, and we can see that it's already installed 0.018. So not bad. So we already have tmux installed. Tmux basically is just an editor. As you can see, this is tmux. It puts us inside of another terminal, which allows us to do things like this and gives us two terminals side by side to work in. Pretty cool stuff. Now, the next one I want to install is going to be sudo. It's going to be nyla install btop. Now, btop, I mainly use this one because honestly it's pretty cool, and I'll show you what it does. But it basically just lets you look at your CPU and your processor and things like that. It's just a fancy way to do it. So when you click on btop, this is what you get. So you're able to see at a glance what everything is doing. To get up out of this, you just simply click escape, scroll down, hit quit. Easy peasy. The next one that I want to get into or install is going to be sudo nyla install, and this is going to be VLC. The reason why I'm installing VLC, because honestly I don't really like it on my Mac, but the reason why I'm installing it on Linux is because you can literally play, I'm gonna say almost any file, but I haven't came across a file that VLC player couldn't play yet. So that's the reason why I use VLC player. With the built-in one, with the built-in media player on Ubuntu, you find that it doesn't play everything. VLC player doesn't have that problem. Okay, the next thing I want to install is going to be sudo nyla install, and this is going to be neovim. This is basically like another, I guess you can say, text editor for your terminal. So I'm forcing myself to only use the terminal, so I use neovim. It is a learning curve. So if we come over here really quickly, we can come through here and just add in the ones that I want to pin to my dash. I don't believe I have any other ones I want to pin, so that's it for now. So I'll come back over here. I would like to have, yep, this is how I want it. I can unpin that folder. The next thing that I want to do after I've installed neovim is install basically the software that I need for being able to code. So since I'm learning how to code, I would say sudo nyla, or another way to do this, like I don't have to keep doing it. I could press up since it has part of the argument, and I could just delete sudo nyla install, and I can just type in the next one I want to install, which would be Nodejs. I could say yes, and now it's going to go through and install Nodejs. And if you install in Nodejs, basically what it allows you to do is create a terminal right inside it creates a console inside of your terminal that you can interact with. And to activate it, you just say node. Now I'm inside of a terminal. If I want to exit, I just I type .exit, and I'm out. The next thing, if we're going to install Nodejs, we need to install the package manager. So I can go up, delete that, put npm for node package manager, hit enter, say yes, and now I'm installing a node package manager. Now you have to install Node.js before you install npm, or it's going to say not found. I'm not sure why, but that's the way it works. All right, and now that we're finished, the last thing we're going to do, we're going to do one more thing in terminal, but before we do that, we can close out of here, and we're going to come over to settings. We're going to come over to additional drivers, and we're going to just look over here really quickly at Ubuntu software. We can see over here is where we're able to change up things. Other software, if we wanted to add it, we can right here. We can check on how we want our updates. So because this is basically going to be my play virtual machine that I'm going to use for everything, I want all updates. I want it daily. I want it downloaded and installed automatically. I want it displayed immediately. I'm going to say download automatically. I'm not going to say install. And then I'm going to say I want for any version, which means it doesn't matter if it's supported or not. I just want it. And then over here, authentication, I don't have to worry about that. Additional drivers, I don't got to worry about that. Pre-release, if you click this, it's going to give you pre-releases. And that's it. I can come over here and I can add Ubuntu long-term, enable Ubuntu Pro, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to say close. Now, if you want to, I can come back over to additional drivers, come back over here. You can see that it's custom, everything stayed. And if I come over here, let's see here, you can see all of it stayed. I could change one thing and just say all updates. I'm going to say 3441. I'm going to say enter. And now I can say, I can close this. I can hit reload. So it's basically refreshing the software cache. So while that's doing that, we're going to go to another window, which is going to be right here. And we have one more thing we want to do. We're going to open up terminal, and I don't really use this part of it, but you can. It's pretty cool, but I'm going to actually close that out because I honestly don't use that part. I'm trying to learn the terminal. I just like using this one because it's in blocks versus, you know, looking boring like the other one. So the last thing I want to do is going to be sudo apt update, and you can see it's popping up for me. So I can just tab over and I can make sure before I run this that the other one is done. So once this is done running, then I'm gonna do it. And honestly, that's it. That's a solid install. It's a solid baseline for you to start at, and you're able to jump in, start installing applications and learning your way around Ubuntu 24.04. Now, I will say this. Some of the applications you're going to find a little difficult to install if it's not Debian. Like if it's tar, like a .tar file, those are a little bit tricky to install depending upon the application. I know with WebStorm is different, but I also understand that some of the issues I have is because it's in a virtual machine. I want to see if I'm still have those same issues when I'm using an actual computer or a single board computer. So I'm still looking to play around with it, what you're going to see. But this is definitely more than enough for you to know if this is something you want to do, something you like, something you want to learn more about. Honestly, I would imagine as I learn more about Linux and learn more about the command line, I'll be able to do some automation. But if I'm being completely honest, this really has nothing to do with, you know, automation. It has more to do with security and productivity, because from inside of Linux, it's not a lot of distractions in here, and I'm not really concerned about a lot of ads popping up and things like that that's gonna grab my attention. So I'm fairly excited about it. Let's run this last command, and you should be good to go. Your system should be solid after this command. All right, so now that that has finally finished up, I can press pound. Well, it's command. And we can come back over here. So now what I want to do is I want to run this command, and I'm going to cheat a little bit by saying -y. And honestly, I should be using my hotkeys to get back here, but because this video is so long and I just want to get it done, we're going to do it like this. So now with that, -y is just basically passing the argument saying yes. And as you can see, it pops up and tells you, you know, basically what it's for, and it's an option. So that's the reason why I like this, because it's telling you exactly what's going on with it. So now I can come back up here, say enter, put in my password, say return, and now it's going to go through, and this one should be much faster than the last time because we've already done everything that we're supposed to do, and the only thing we're doing is seeing if there's any new thing we install that needs to be updated or have a dependency or something like that. So that's it. This is the new system. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know this video, honestly, I'm looking at my record time and it's literally 2 hours and 41 minutes to get this set up from beginning to end. And that's not with me making a lot of mistakes, but it's just the nature of me having a slow internet connection, a slow download connection, and you know, that's just the way it happened. But all the same, I hope you enjoyed this video. And with that being said, if you want to know why I'm getting into this and what I like so much about single board computers and why it grabbed my attention, you can watch this video right here. It'll tell you all about it, and more importantly, it'll tell you what you can expect from me based around single board computers. With that being said, till next time, I'll catch you in the next video, and make sure you give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, because when I tell you this is my second time creating this video, the first time I created the video, it was like 3.5 hours long, and I was using like my Raspberry Pi and all that other stuff. And then when I finally sat down to actually do the video, to start editing it, I had no sound. And after doing that 3 hours, I did not have it in me to sit down and do another 3 hours. So I took what I could from that, which is I knew where I made my mistakes at in that video. In this video, I improved it. This video wasn't more about making mistakes. It was just more about my download speed being so slow. So with that being said, I honestly feel like this was a better way to do it, meaning showing you the software first before I introduce you to single board computers, because you might download this and say, hey, this is not for you. And if that's the case, then you probably don't want to waste no money on no single board computer or SBC. All right, so hopefully you found it helpful. Hopefully you appreciated it. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Later.